Hi and welcome to this long overdue episode of Extronical. Most of you know why I've not been videoing for a while, so I'm going to reintroduce my doing videos on the channel with a little bit of an easy intro for me. Just going to build this kit, something I've never done before, so if you don't like this sort of thing, if you don't think my channel should be about this, don't leave any hate, just move on, skip the video, watch something else, don't need to watch this. This is what I'm going to do today. If you want to watch, then great, thank you, and a thumbs up would be appreciated. So yeah, I'm just going to build this kit. I got this kit for Father's Day, which is a little while ago in the UK now, from one of my sons. He'd had something similar for Christmas off a relative. I'll put a picture of these up on the screen now. There is a critical difference between the one he got and this one. The one he got, you could just assemble by hand, connecting wires up and things like that, no problems. This one, however, needs some, what's that? Same basic soldering required. This is Haynes, as far as I remember. It's an English company, but instead of putting some basic soldering required, they put same. Well, there you go. But anyway, you're going to need some soldering skills to do this. So you will need access to soldering iron and do it using this cheap and nasty one, which actually I use more often than I should. This one often comes out, it's unlimited to space where I am in this house. I have to share space. This is actually the one that comes out a heck of a lot. Probably costs like £15. Some soldering iron, but it's also good to use it for this because, you know, it's a cheap kit. People are going to have access to probably something like this, or are going to buy something like this to build this perhaps. So cheap soldering iron, some solder, and one of these fluffy wire coppery things. You can see this used to have a wet sponge in, but you know, I prefer whatever the hell they call these things. Anyway, please use solder iron. Optional, you can probably get away with doing that. So this is the Electro-Synth. I wonder if I can do the eyebrow thing. So something like that anyway. So let's get on and make that. So we get that. Jesus. So eyes are hot. Hang on. Is that not copyright? Someone on the internet, Electro or something like we're saying? Nah, he mostly electrocutes himself. I could be the YouTuber that mostly burns himself. That sounds safe. Anyway, let's move on. Roll the titles.
Is that it?
So let's see what we get in the box. And you've got to sort of slide out that there. Turn it around. I think this is going to be the main project. You're going to mount your project in here. There's a picture on the back of how it should look. You can see. So you're going to mount your project in here. Buttons there and stuff. Control potentiometer there. And this shows you a full kit of parts that we should have. So let's open this up. Which way is it? One of these ways. Now I tell you personally, who I watch, Ben Heck, which a lot of you probably do subscribe to. He's great at waffling on. I'm not sure how good I am at waffling on at stuff. But we'll find out in this as I'm building this, and I'm going to have to talk about random stuff. Here's the main circuit board, however. Let's whip that out. Oh, by the way, there will be affiliate links down below for this kit and the other one that you saw that my son got at Christmas. If you want to order anything off Amazon, whether it's this kit or not, if you go through that link, I'll get a little bit of sweet kit back. Yeah, it is a little bit, but every little bit helps. If you don't want to buy a link, always putting a thumbs up on the video is always good. Adding a comment, yeah, brilliant. Really appreciate it. All right, let's have a look what we've got. So that's going to be the main board where we sort of move some sort of styles and maybe even our finger across the front. It might be, you know, detect the current conducting with your finger. I don't know, I haven't looked at it yet, but I think it might be a finger where you go like that sort of thing. Buttons are going to mount here, here, here and here. So let's have a look. So we've got obviously the main workhorse, 3 transistors, which at least 1 or 2 of them probably to power the speaker, power transistors to the speaker, probably. It's a bit of a guess. Let's turn it sort of the right way up where we can see the words the right way around. We've got a crystal there to provide some sort of oscillator for the main chip. I can't see it through my camera now, but in a minute, by the magic of filmmaking, I will insert a little segue here talking about what this chip is. And, you know, it's probably some sort of basic synthesizer chip, I would have thought. So by the magic of hindsight, I didn't need to look up on the internet at all, because once you finish building it, which you'll see later on in the video, chapter 3, go through the operation, how to work it, and then right at the end, and this is really good of Haynes, you've got the circuit diagram there, the theory of operation. And it says the synthesizer is based on a processor made by Holtec, so it's actually a small microcontroller as far as I can tell. It talks about code, and even gives you a floor diagram somewhere. I remember seeing one. Where are we going? Yeah, a little floor diagram, setting up timer and ports, etc. Yeah, this is actually a microcontroller. So there you go. So you've learned to make that chip now. So there you go. So that's that bit. What else would we have? We should have like a knob. And yes, before some of you say that there's already a knob in this video, yeah, leave them jokes to the wife, thank you. So yeah, we've got the knob, we've got the speaker, we've got the battery pack, all looking good. Got some wires, yep, some wires. We've got whatever that is, presumed for hold the speaker in or something. I suspect that's actually come glued and it should actually still be on because there's a trace of glue there. So, okay. Quality control Haynes, please. Haynes, by the way, used to make, the companies making this were quite famous, certainly in the UK, not very familiar where they were abroad, at producing manuals for cars, and their sort of like big claim on the front cover was you could mend pretty much any fault. It was like a complete strip down of a car. The entire car could be stripped down in that manual and put back together from whatever it was, suspension, brakes, distributor, anything else with the engine. I used to do a lot back in the day. I used to run small sports cars when I was younger. I used to like my sports cars when I was younger. I used to repair them myself, but that's another story. We've got a couple of nuts and bolts. The LEDs, yeah, we've got the actual potentiometer, and it says off and on there. I can see somewhere. Off, volume, max. That means this must be a clicky one. Brilliant. We all like a clicky potentiometer. Let's have a see. Oh, listen to that. Oh. Sorry, I was getting a little bit weird there, but just that was clicky. Potentiometers are just, yeah. Well, I like them anyway. So, but we appear to have all the kit as far as I can see. Put that in. Little washer and nut for that as well to keep it attached to there. So we've got all the stuff. Let's crack in and go through the instruction manual and see how we build this. Right, so here we are. Let's open it up. Introduction, important note. Shall we read that, or shall we just, are we going to do an RTFM? Let's have a quick look, I suppose. Let's have a look. Introduction. Where's this synthesizer kit? You can build your own. Anyway, you don't want to hear me waffling down there. So let's have a look. Important note. You have to observe a few special instructions for your self-assembling synthesizer to work properly. So it's recommended you read chapters 1 and 2 completely first, it's basically saying, before you actually start assembling it. So he wants you to read the manual first, then go back, and we're not going to do that. Maybe you should, or what it says, go through, read all this. When it says chapters 1 and 2, does that count as 1? Is that chapter 1? But by the time you get to this bit, you've already read it. And by the time you get to this bit where it says it's important to read this bit, you've already read it or not. What? Whatever. And then chapter 2, which I'm guessing is basically much assembling it. Circuit board, LEDs. Yeah, so I'm just going to go through and attempt my best at doing this. Oh, there's a chapter 3. Operation. So playing it. There you go. Right, let's go back then. It's like we're starting on chapter 2. I'll have a quick whiz through, cut out bits of the video, what you don't need to know, and I'll just start soldering and stuff. Champion. So the first bit it asks you to do on this page is to mount this onto the lid of the cardboard box. Now, the first thing I actually did, I was thinking, yeah, mount it like that. You can see there's a couple of holes for the bolts to go through there. So I thought, yeah, you mount it like that. You can see your keyboard. That was actually my first instinct to do it like that. And I realised that you're not going to be able to see these. So actually, yeah, whether I'm being stupid or not, I don't know. But you need to mount it on that way. Make sure it's the right way up. So you've got those plates at the bottom. There's a picture on the box, which I showed earlier. So, you wouldn't put it that way. It is definitely that way. So we need to actually bolt that into there. Another little thing I might have a little bit of a criticism of. I mean, you can have good and bad criticism. This would be a negative criticism. Is these are very tiny, which means to fit these in, I mean, even a small child would struggle with these. You're probably going to want a watchmaker's screwdriver, which obviously I've got, but a lot of people wouldn't. The first one I've grabbed, I think, will fit, yeah. So, okay, let's put that through there. You see, I've got reasonable size hands, but they're not, super massive by any means. And put that through there, and then put a nut on that side. Now, we need to get through the hole, don't we, obviously. Idiot. Go on, Bennett. See, it is fiddly, but I mean, it's not impossible. I'm not giving it a criticism for that. Just the fact the size of the screws and nuts are very tiny. You don't get a screwdriver to do this bit. The cardboard itself, if you tighten it enough, should provide some friction so it doesn't come loose. So all we need to do is probably just give it a bit of a nip. So let's just give that a bit of a nip. Hold on to the nut at the back. And because it will dig into the cardboard, the nut at the back, that will actually grip it quite well without needing anything like a spring washer or anything like that. So let's put this one in. Now, the accuracy of the holes in the cardboard are punched very well. Excellent, in fact. And that's just lining up there. I think it's lining up there perfectly. Just, yeah, there it is. Straight through. So that's impressive. I've built some furniture that could take some note of this, where things don't quite line up. I must admit, not that cheaper furniture. Cheapish furniture. If you get cheap furniture from IKEA seems to be pretty okay, not them advertising for them. If you like IKEA sort of stuff, if you've got a family, you tend to buy IKEA stuff because it's reasonably priced, it's cheap and wears pretty well. But yeah, that's good. They were very accurately drilled. And as I say, just give it a bit of a tighten, the cardboard itself will actually do reasonable friction and keep that in place. So we've got that mounted on there. The next bit it says is to solder in the switches. I'm just looking for them to be on the deck here now, yeah, because it's tipped everything out. So let's just move this stuff away we don't need or want at the moment. Where's my washer gone? Where's the washer gone? It should be a washer, shouldn't they? Which I did have. What was it? Oh, well, I'll find it in a bit. But anyway, put that to one side. We should have 4 switches. We have little tactile switches. I must admit, I do like clicky things. Oh, yeah, again. Anyway, and it does have a nice little note here. I'll give them some praise for that. This is not a review. I'm not trying to promote this, so you'll click on the link below. Make your own decisions up. I do think the instructions could have been clear about whether you put, which side of the box you put that on. I could have easily assembled that the wrong way around, being the thickie that I am. But it's on the right way now, just by double checking the diagram on the other part of the box. You can always sort of look at this top part of the box to see what it sort of should look like at the end. But yeah, they do give you some little tips on soldering there. So if you've soldered before, and maybe somebody bought you this and a soldering iron to go with it or something, then yeah, a little bit of tips there is good. So we've got to solder them on, and it shows you a picture here of them directly attached to the board like that. And it seems like this, you solder them on the top, on the pads there. Not the natural way I'd usually solder. Like, usually we solder underneath the circuit board, don't we? I mean, unless you obviously surface mount, etc, etc, etc. But yeah, there is no way we've got we've got some cutouts there, which is for the battery connections. Looking at it, positive and negative, positive and negative. I'm guessing one might be battery and one might be this speaker. I'm not entirely sure. We'll find that out later. Oh, didn't notice that before. Full circuit diagram. That is an excellent little touch, actually. And it gives you the IC number, which we've already showed earlier. IC1 HT46F46. You can read, can't you? Or maybe not, maybe they're writing small. But anyway, we've been through that. Yeah, that's kind of cool. 4 megahertz crystal. Yeah, cracking. Nice touch, that. Especially if you get into electronics. So we need to push these in. Now, does it give instructions about it? Because obviously you could push them in like that, or you could rotate them and do it that way. But looking at it, yeah, the pitching's completely wrong, so you're going to be forced to put them in that way, which is good. That means they will be the right way around. Let's see how easy these go in. Well, potentially quite easily. It's just that I'm flipping not the most dexterous person on the planet. Go on, get in. I'm going to call that one done. So that's one button. It's not quite snug at that side, but it's certainly going to be okay to solder to. So let's have a quick go at soldering that onto there. Do they make a note about whether you definitely put it in the right way? I'm just having a quick check through the instructions. Push the legs and buttons into the holes of the circuit and solder them. You may also shorter legs of the buttons with a wire cutter. I'm not going to bother. I'm going to stick with longies. It does make me slightly easier to solder, I think, as well. So the plastic case and buttons sit directly over the circuit board. Well, I think if you did cut them right down, so that was flush and neat on there, it would be a bit tricky to solder, not impossible. But I think I'm going to be lazy. You could make a neater job of this if you wanted. But I think I'm just going to solder for ease and speed directly on there. So let's get the soldering iron. And whack some solder on there. So I think it tells you this in the manual. Heat up the component, add a bit of solder. There we go, see a bit of flow. Solder off, iron off, job done. Do this one. The quality of the contacts, yeah, nice big pads. A bit more. Nice big pads, very easy to solder to, and now I'm having to work around the camera as well. I think anybody that's not soldered before would obviously need a little bit of a practice on something first, ideally. Sorry, I've got some soldering off to iron off then. But I think this is a fairly forgiving circuit. So heating up the pad and the component leg, whack a bit of solder on there, job done. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So I'll go and do the rest of them. And as I said, I'm not going to cut it down. I'm going to give mine the more sort of rustic look, I think, that you could make a neat job if you want to. So the next bit, apparently, is putting in your LEDs, which actually is these two holes here. Blue one at the top, it says, green one at the bottom, which explains, if I open this up, what I thought was perhaps the speaker and the battery connections. No. The fact that it says BAT back there in big flipping letters and LS5 speaker there, yeah, well, I didn't see them. So yeah, these are your LED connections. Now, it is quite good. Well, let's push one through first. We're going to see. Does it say about pushing through? Because you don't want to push through like this, do we? Do we? Do we want to push like that? You wouldn't want to. You'd want to push through. Presumably it's been drilled to the correct diameter. So that will, because LEDs come with a little lip on at the bottom. So I think these are 3 mils, aren't they? These ones, or is it 5? That it's 5 mil in it, is it? Oh God knows, never good with measurements. But blue at the top anyway. Yeah, that's a nice snug fit. So we get that blue at the top, and then green at the bottom. And it does tell you quite well that the longer lead is the positive and needs to solder to the positive. So on this one, positive's at this place. So I'm out of position there, so I need to rotate my LED round. So the longer lead is going to go to the positive. Now, if I was to have a slight criticism about this bit, this is going to be pretty tricky without a hole to push this leg into. It does say position and push your leg so that you can solder onto this pad. Now, my God, I mean, I've done the odd bit of soldering. I don't know whether you know, my bio is not, I'm not an electronics engineer or anything like that. I like electronics. My background is software engineering. I love the embedded systems, programming things, you know, electronic devices and like that. That's what I love, which is why my channel is based electronics and programming. I like to do that. This is going to be really tricky. I don't know whether I'm doing this the best way, but I'm trying to bend this so that it presses on there like that. But that is going to be tricky. You're going to make sure the legs don't touch, obviously. And I think I did turn that round, so that was positive. Pretty darn sure I did that right. You can also tell, because on an LED, where's my green one? You won't be able to see it on camera that well, but there is a flat part of the rim there, which is the cathode. So we may or may not be able to see that very well there. Yeah, there's a slight flatness there, so I'll put that right to the negative. So I'm going to have a go at soldering that. Let's see how well that goes, because that looks darn tricky, I think, but maybe they know what they're doing. Let's go with the positive first, because that's the leg that seems to be mostly on. And again, I'm working around the camera, so this wouldn't be as tricky for you as it looks for me. Just go that way. Apply heat to the leg. Hope we don't burn the cardboard. And have we got some? Put my finger on it and try and burn. There, that wasn't too bad. I did apply a tiny bit of finger pressure there just to get it to sort of keep there. I mean, you'd have to be careful not to burn yourself. The heat conducts pretty darn quickly. Pop that back just for a sec. Yeah, push that. It's not as bad as you'd think, actually. Although if you was like, you know, 9, 10, 11-year-old child, you may want to assist them a little bit. So let's apply some, heat on the pad. Plenty of solder, just oodles of solder, probably burning the cardboard. And then let go. And I think, to be fair, hats off to Haynes. That did not go down. That was not too bad. I think it helps. The quality of the pads, the copper, doesn't quite look coppery, it will be copper, is very good. It's very clean pads, no oxidation, so things are soldering up really well and easily. So I can't complain. However, what I can complain about, when I was obviously reading this before I did this bit of the video, was here in bold. So you've done this, the LEDs, you've soldered it and everything. It says, note, the circuit board must be mounted on the outside of the cardboard box. You remember when I was talking about that? When I tried to mount it on this side first, then I realised it must be this side. Because from the picture we showed earlier, you don't really see the fact that it's on the outside. It looks like it could even be on the inside. And it did say, it did give you a warning, to be fair. It gave you a warning, didn't it, early on at the end of chapter 1, even though it said read chapter 1 first and what have you, to read it all first. But why couldn't that note there, in bold, saying you must put that on the inside of the box, be on the bit where you're mounting the circuit board there? Where we actually attach that circuit board, why couldn't it say make sure you mount on the outside of the box? Why? Why? I don't get it. Why is that not there? It's not like, you can't say it's an afterthought. It's not an addendum where they stuck something on extra. No, why? Okay, minor quibble, but anyway, why? Okay, so I'm going to solder up the next LED, and then we'll move on to whatever the next part is. Okay, just before we fit the speaker, when I turned over the page of the LED, from fitting the LEDs, as you know, I'm not reading ahead here, I'm just cracking on. It just show you a picture of them completing the LEDs where they've just looped it over simply and soldered at the end. I don't know whether that's easy the way I did it, but okay, I did it this way, whichever. But I did also notice this. Look at the size of that bolt. It's bigger than a horse's donger. Much bigger than my small donger there. I don't get it. That would never fit the lid down. But anyway, let's get this on here. And it just say in the manual, obviously you want to face it that way. So we're going to solder on these contacts here to there and there for LS for loudspeaker. And it just make a big talk in the manual about make sure you connect the positive to the positive, negative. Well, little criticism here. I, with my eyesight, can't see them labelled positive or negative, not that I can see anyway, and not that it would matter with this type of passive component anyway. So it did also say you could use some sellotape in case you need to, because you know, my bit of this, wherever that's supposed to be, I don't know, fell off anyway. So I'm going to get some sellotape. Other brands of sticky tape are available. In fact, I very much doubt that this is proper sellotape. This will be some other type. So let's just check. Are we looking okay? Yeah, we're over the speaker area. So I'm just going to stick it on simple there. And then cut a piece of wire. So you get this length of wire, didn't you? It was so coiled up earlier. I've unwound it now. Another little criticism here. Obviously, you know you need a soldering. It says some soldering required. Or it says same soldering required. You also need to cut, which is no problem, everybody has a pair of scissors. You could cut this thinner wire with scissors. However, to strip it back, not always that easy. Not everybody, if you're just starting out, if you get this kit off somebody, maybe they might buy a soldering iron. Everybody would have a pair of wire cutters. However, a grown-up, like I've just done, may be able to strip that back for you. I've just done that with my fingernails and pull that off. So that's not impossible. So if you haven't got some wire strippers, then you can probably get away with it. So we need to give that a bit of extra, don't we? So you can solder there easily. So I've got some cutters somewhere. There we go. I'm just going to cut that off camera. Very pro. And also, I'm not going to do it again with my fingernails, but you can see it could be done if you had to. And I'm just going to cut that there for the slightly smaller one down there. There we go. And we'll solder that on. So I'll solder those wires to there, positive and negative to the loudspeaker. Then we'll move on to, I think it's the potentiometer next. So before we move on to the next bit, actually, one little tip I could give, I'll call it a pro tip, not from me. I just use some sellotape just to keep the wires in place while I soldered them. So I've done that down here as well. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty hard. And this is not exactly on the pad, so I'm going to press it down, apply liberal amounts of solder, plenty of solder on there to get a good blob going. And yeah, because you've got big pads, that's worked fine. So I'll do the same. I'll solder I'll put a little bit of sellotape down just to keep that into place while I just solder it in. We now move on to the potentiometer, which, if you look, there's a hole for it. There's another small hole next to it, which is, if I don't drop it, there is a lug. Where the hell's it gone now? There was a lug. Of course, it's this side, idiot. There's a little lug there, which will locate in that hole, so all positioned correctly. So like this, like the attention to detail have done, push that in so that that lug there will locate in that hole there. So we just need to twiddle that in, and yeah, and that'll stop it turning around as well. And then we'll need to add the washer and the nut on the other side. And pop that in. Again, because you're going against cardboard, a nice good tighten with your finger tight should be enough to pretty much secure it forever, more or less. We've got the knob to put on, which we'll put on shortly. It has a little securing nut in there, screw, should say, really. So we need to solder it up. Now this is where I have a little bit of an issue with the instructions again. It's not mega, and if, as long as you read through them all first, like it said, but you know, who does, then everything will be fine. But it just seems like a little bit of rearrangement of the instructions, and the one you'd have to say read it through once. You know, don't you have to emphasise that at the beginning. However, I'll tell you what I mean. You've got these two here are for the battery connections for the switch part. These are the normal 3 pins you'd have on a potentiometer. And you've got P2, P1 and P3 there. And it says connect, and it does say it quite correctly. Turn over the page. If you look at this, if you think you're only going to work off this diagram, that can be tricky. It's quite hard to work out which wire is going to where there. Much better diagram here, but it says actual potentiometer connect contacts are connected to P1, P2, P3 respectively. So I'm going to take that as contact 1, 2 and 3. So that should go to P1 there, P2 that one, and P3 over there. And yeah, if you look at the diagram, that's right. P1 going to there, P2 there, P3 there. Why they needed this diagram, which I think is actually not helping that much, because you could not turn the page, you could think, oh yeah, I'll try and copy that. You could easily wire that wrong. However, minor quibble, and to be fair to them, you follow it exactly, you're not going to go wrong. So I'm going to solder up those 3 pads there, and then we'll do the battery box and connections for that. Okay, so just one quick point actually before I move on. You can see I've soldered one wire in. One of the easy things to do, and I actually do a lot of the time, is blue tack. Blue tack, I use sellotape here, admittedly, because it said, oh, put sellotape over there to fix that position, so I just whack some sellotape on. But actually, blue tack is quite handy for just sticking down your wire close to the position where you're going to solder it. It insulates very well, it doesn't transmit the heat, and doesn't tend to burn or melt when you catch it with your iron or anything, or it doesn't tend to do anything like that. So yeah, stick the wire down, give it a solder, like that. I'll just finish off those next 2. So we come to the last bit of soldering. We have got the battery pack, the negative, according to instructions, we obviously connected to the negative. The positive, it shows connecting to this terminal here, which is part of the switching circuit of that potentiometer. And then we have a bit of wire, which I've cut somewhere, there we are, going from that side to the positive over there. However, as you know, switches work. I'm going to be a little bit different. I'm going to put that over there because it just seems to curl around better to that side. So I'm going to solder that on there. May as well do that now while I'm waffling on. So I'm going to solder that on there to the battery thing. And I do have a little bit of a slight criticism. Overall, I have been quite impressed with this kit. It's been a good kit. Instructions have been, despite some of my criticisms, I've been pretty good actually, to be fair. Been alright. So I've soldered that to there. This goes to the negative. Again, we'll use the magic of blue tack just to hold that into position while I just solder it. Perfect. Quickly blob some on there. So let's get some heat on that pad. It's a fairly big pad. Just touch it onto the soldering iron as well, perhaps. Whoops. Help if I could see properly. Not doing a very good job there. Let's get that on. There we go. Job's up. That'll do. And blue tack off. Yeah, turn off. And I just need a wire going from there to the battery positive. Now, this is my little bit of criticism. There is no, you can't really put sellotape over there. I mean, you could once you put your batteries in, but if you ever want to change the batteries, you've got to pull the sellotape off. So they don't really give you any sort of suggestion on fixing that in. You could get a bit of Velcro, stick a bit of Velcro on there, and back of there, and just Velcro it in place. That'd probably do. Or put a couple of screws through, or bolts or something through them 2 holes in the box. I'd probably use a bit of Velcro. For now, I'm probably just going to let it hang loose. So I'm going to put through that hole there, and quickly solder that up. Come on. Get some heat on, get some soldering. One thing it doesn't mention is anything about solder fumes. So these days with health and safety is you're supposed to have an extraction fan. I presume they're not mentioning it all just because if you've got a soldering iron made, they presume you know that bit of knowledge, that you should be careful of solder fumes, or I'm making it right myself, or they're presuming that, yeah, if you're just making the odd kit once or twice a year, maybe it's not that big a deal. So I was brought up in places where, yeah, extraction of solder fumes, that was not a thing. Right, last one. Last soldered. Get out. It's last soldered joint. Come on. Let's whack plenty on there. Let's get loads going. I think I've got that. Yep. So, that should work. I haven't put the knob on the front yet. I'll just do that and see if I've got, I'm just looking rooted through my screwdrivers. I've got a watchmaker screwdriver again. The watchmaker screwdrivers, they don't really mention you having to use very much. So I just make sure this is clicked off. So that's on, that's off. So it's turning that way. So I want this with the arrow pointing down like that to the off position. Need to unscrew that a little bit. Like that. So I want to line up and point that down toward my off position as best I can see from this weird angle. There we go. So, okay, like that. Let's power it up. Just pause the video, just pause for a second. I'm going to get some battery to pop in there. Okay, moment of truth. 3 double A's. 1, 2. Get in. 3. Close it up. As I say, that probably could do with fixing properly somewhere. Let's close it up, turn it round, switch it on. I don't know if one of these is going to light or not. Ooh, we have lights on there. Ah, yeah, first time. I mean, not that I was doubting myself or anything. Okay, so I ain't musical at all. No talent. So I don't care, I know basic octave and that's a sharp and slash B, whatever that means. Let's press that. Sounds the same to me. If I keep it pressed. Oh yeah, press it. So yeah, that's raising it up an octave, isn't it? A scale is that? I don't know. But anyway. But you have to keep it pressed. Kind of a bit awkward, although if I was not holding that, I could keep it, I could go. Etc. Oh, and that's volume, isn't it? Oh, let's try the maxing out. To be fair, it goes fairly loud. Really loud, it's good. Let's see what this does. Hash, sharp, B, thingy, whatever. Yeah, I can hear the difference there. But this is supposed to be a synthesizer, so we must be able to alter the waveforms. And we've got, let's do the tremolo effect. So that's going to be the blue light, which is going to be this one. So that's it without pressing it. Oh, it's pulsing. Oh yeah, there's tremolo. Press it again, does it go off? No, a different beat. Oh, I like that. Different, and it's going slower. And I guess at some point, oh yeah, like that. If you keep on pressing, does it like go back to? Oh, that's good. Very sci-fi from the 1970s. It's just going slower and slower, and then it's gone back to normal. Yeah. So I'm guessing let's just keep on pressing that back to normal. And then we've got the envelope. So envelopes, I know that make music. You've got the attack and decay and all that lot, but let's press it once. Not particularly, exciting. Press it again. Turn up a bit. Not particularly that. Not what I was thinking was going to happen. I thought it was going to be more of a attack and decay phase on the waveform. I thought seems very similar to the tremolo, to be honest. And I guess if we keep on pressing, what happens? What if we put this on? Oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, we can do two at once. No, you can't. Sometimes you can. Oh yeah, you can. Finger probably wasn't sweaty enough. Or is it just that's taking over? Can we do chords? No. It's just that takes over that. If I'm pressing that already, nothing. But if I start there, then going up the scale overrides the previous one. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Yeah, it seems alright, isn't it? It's a bit of fun for somebody that's building. I mean, you're not going to exactly be Mozart on there, are you, or anything else, to be that honest. But yeah, it's a bit of fun. I enjoyed doing it. If you were doing it without the camera and you were a reasonable experience, you could probably build that in about 20 minutes or so, thereabouts. So, links, as I said, for affiliate links down below for this and the other one, if you want to purchase that. Otherwise, thanks very much for watching. Slap on the old like if you don't mind doing that, that'd be great. Subscribe if you want to. And anything else is Patreon and all sorts of things down below, just whatever you want to do. Until next time, catch you later.